everyone. How's everyone doing today? As many of you know, 2 days ago, Wednesday, was my birthday, and today I'm going away with my friends to a city called Honda, just like the car company. It's a relatively small town on the Magdalena River, and I hope to get some good information not only about the history of the place, but also some content for you, and we might have some interviews from my friends as well. But today, we are here because our student N had a class yesterday, and we went through some of his homework, some of his vocabulary review, and I thought it was really helpful to go through some of this for you. You being all of my students, right? So, without further ado, let's get down to business. So, a first-hand account. What is that? Well, let's break it down into its smaller parts. So let's start with account. Now, we all know about accounting and numbers and finances, but account also comes from the Latin contare, which of course in Spanish, in Italian, and other languages means to tell a story. So that is actually a story or an account of what happened at a certain incident. And then, if you say firsthand, well, firsthand means from a person that witnessed the incident, someone who knows, someone who was there, someone who saw firsthand. Firsthand account. For example, we had firsthand accounts of people who were on the Titanic, for example. Firsthand accounts of people who were at Pearl Harbor during the bombings, or any important event. We have firsthand accounts, and they're very important, of course. In the jury, in the courtroom, a firsthand account is called a witness, and of course they are used to put criminals behind bars. All right, let's go on to iron stomach. What do you think an iron stomach is? Well, iron is a metal stomach. That sounds like a very strong stomach, right? Strong stomach. You can eat anything. Well, my student N, thought that he had a strong stomach, had an iron stomach, and then he started living in Mexico City. And if anyone knows about Montezuma's Revenge, then you know that it is a tough place to get adapted to, specifically gastronomically. All right? So the next one is to go off, or it went off without a hitch. We're going to talk more about this one because I really like this phrase. Not only is it an idiom, but it also has a very helpful word here, hitch. So let's start with hitch. Now, in this case, a hitch is an impediment, obstacle, setback. All of these words are to use for something that slows your progress, especially at work or your progress with something. So a hitch, in fact, is an obstacle. So how did the event go, Tom? Oh, it went well. It went off without a hitch, as in the event passed with no major problems. It went off without a hitch. How was your vacation, Tom? Oh, it went off without a hitch. And of course, the opposite, you would run into a few hitches. This is very classic to talk about. Let's say your project is behind schedule, and you have to explain why your project is behind schedule. And you say, hey, sorry, we ran into a few hitches, or a few snags is also a word that we use, a few snags. Oh, and of course, trailer hitch. A trailer hitch is what we use to connect your truck with your boat. For example, that is a hitch. To toy with. I really like this phrase. To toy with means that you are considering something and you're kind of playing around with it. It's not necessarily a serious idea, but you're starting to think, well, maybe what if? What if I went to visit my cousins in Denmark next year? I don't really have a serious plan to go, but I would love to do it. And so right now I'm toying with it. I'm thinking, okay, well, if I go next year, then I would have to have enough money to go to Europe, which is a lot of money, of course. So that means that within a year, I need to save some money. I need to launch my business so that I can leave the business here in Bogota. I can leave without any worries. And there are so many other factors to take into consideration before traveling to Europe next year. But I'm toying with the idea. What are you toying with? Tell me in class, please. Facetiously. I said something facetiously. In other words, I said it in jest. I wasn't serious. It was meant to be playful, maybe to make fun of someone in a nice, friendly way, to be funny. I said something facetiously or in jest. And if you don't know jest, many people probably don't, it comes from jester, like the person in the king's courtroom that made funny jokes and made the king laugh. That is the jester. Ooh, disdainful. Now, when you look down on someone, let's imagine you are a member of the ruling class of a country. Let's say that your parents are politicians, your grandparents are politicians, you went to the best schools, you had the best education. You might be disdainful of other people because you are so on high, you are at the top of the food chain, that you might look down on someone and say, ugh, what poor people, or what, uneducated people. This is disdainful. So you can look at someone with disdain. You pity them, you look at them as an inferior, maybe. Yes, it's not a very good quality to have, to be disdainful or to look at someone with disdain. To reign supreme. Well, this reign means to rule, like a king or a queen. Okay? To rule like a king or queen. So, for example, right now, Djokovic, the tennis player, is reigning supreme. He is the winner of Wimbledon. He is at the top of his game, and there is no one that can compete with him right now. He is reigning supreme, the top with no competition. That's basically what reigns supreme. No competition. Dig deeper. When the tough, this is a common idiom, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. What does that mean? When the situation is difficult, is hard, is stressful, it tests your patience, your mental will, your physical ability, you have to dig deep. You have to go and find that 110% to be able to finish what you're doing. This is often associated with physical activities, but of course you can also talk about mental as well. Work was very hard this week. I'm ready to collapse. I'm ready to just to break down, but you know what? I have one more project to go. I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to finish that project. I'm going to find that last bit of energy and dig deeper. All right. Student N, if you don't let me go. We were talking about the Mexican drug lord's son, if you don't remember, and this was a correction of your sentence. I don't remember what you said, but don't let me go is like let me free. Let me leave this place. Lack of regard for human life. I remember talking about that. We were talking about the Colombian situation, the civil conflict. Impotent. Well, what is impotent? Impotent is weak, unable to function properly. We would talk about an impotent leader or an impotent worker, unable to get their things done. And of course, impotent also has a relationship in the physical world, but we won't talk about that today. It's worse than before. Comparative. Remember, if we are comparing two or multiple things, we're using the comparative. Worse than, better than. The worst, there's no comparison. It is the worst. The superlative. And remember, the superlative always has the worst, the most interesting, the least intelligent, the most worrisome. All of these have the. Remember that, okay? All right, a couple more. We have put at risk. This is a very common phrase to get wrong, just slightly. Many people say put in risk, but it is to put at risk. To put your future at risk, for example. Cyclical, the pronunciation cyclical. Look at that schwa. Look at that schwa. Cyclical. Cool. You know what? We'll even do this. Think about that. Think about that word as if that A doesn't really exist. Cyclical. Coal. It's so short, and that is the schwa. Cyclical. The economy. I say this all the time. The economy is cyclical. Okay, let me know if I got you. Let me know if I understood what you wanted to say. Let me know if I got you. That, of course, is get as in to understand. And that is where the phrase, gotcha, comes from. Gotcha, I understand. It's very, very common in the American language. It's not a language. The American dialect, well, you can call that. Gotcha, I got it. I understand. Let me know if I got you. And then finally, stop exploring versus stop to explore. You wanted to say that the Colombian government said that it will stop exploring because it's a real activity. They will stop exploring for oil. Stop to explore? With the infinitive to, stop to, is to stop what you're doing. The king stopped to pay respects at the cemetery. So he was walking down the street. He saw the cemetery and he said, you know what? I think I will stop and pay respects at the cemetery. This is to stop to do something. Or I was walking down the street and I stopped to tie my shoelaces. So you stopped to do something. Stop exploring is to stop the activity altogether. And that, folks, is the end. So thank you, student N. Thank you for listening. Please, I hope you guys are enjoying these, and the idea, of course, is to just keep thinking about as many new phrases as possible. I hope you take one of these phrases from this student's text, and we'll talk about more things next time. So have a wonderful weekend, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.